Monday, December the 9th, 2013, 9:32 a.m. I make note that all members of the court are present. Notice of the meeting has been given according to code in the manner and the time required. If it's convenient, we'll all stand. Join me, if you will, our invocation. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, for the many blessings that you bring to us. We're grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve our community and our fellow citizens. We're grateful for this country, this state, and this county. We're thankful for the marshal you've provided for us, and we're grateful to be able to get past all the problems that have occurred to some of our neighbors, the hardships that they're encountering. We ask your blessings upon this meeting, upon our service to our fellow citizens. We ask your forgiveness where we fail you. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Go ahead and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Okay, are there any public comments or reports? Announcements of any kind? Not, we'll move on to item number 4. Consider the county clerk minutes from the previous meeting, December the 4th, 2013. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections?
Yes.
Okay.
On item 3, I was opposed to Zach Burke. And on number 6, it's not. It says Jerry Rogers. Number 6, it's just Jerry Rogers. Number 6, it says presented by Sherry Rogers, County Auditor.
On these minutes here, it does say that you
Abstain.
always said you abstained.
Yes.
Okay.
401 should be 410. That's it. Other than that,
Item number 6.
yes, sir.
Spell.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. With no corrections, motion made by Madam President, second by Stacey Rogers to accept those minutes as corrected. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Consider update on security pledges.
2,511,488.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wiley, second by Commissioner Pruitt, to accept those pledges as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried, 5-0, no opposition. Any budget amendments? No budget amendments. Payment of vouchers? No. No payment of vouchers. Item number 8, consider employee bonds. Jimmy Hall, Stephanie Trail, Stacey Ricketts. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pruitt, second by Commissioner Wiley to accept those, and approve those bonds as presented. Stacy, Timmy Halls, Stephanie Grayle, and Stacy Riggins. All in favor? Carried 5-0, no opposition. Consider extension agents Brad Morrison, Penny Warren report request for reimbursement, $749.75, and Penny Warren didn't make a report, didn't request any.
Not turn.
It's been spending any.
So
Hope
moved.
not.
So moved.
Second. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Wiley and second by Commissioner Rogers to approve reimbursement as reported by Brad Morrison. All in favor? Carried 5-0. Item number 10. Consider elections, Young County Appraisal District Board members. You have in the packet a form, I believe. Our representative is been nominated, Mr. Worthgate Gregg. Nominate him for our nominees. We have 1,115 votes. Recalculated. That's a few less votes than we had previously. That's due to the creation of Brown General Hospital District, I believe, and the change in values of each taxing entity. Any discussion on that issue? I don't believe the hospital districts I don't believe they're allocated a vote. I don't believe they're having votes to either one of the hospital districts. But according to their value, that redistributes the value, and that lessens our number of votes.
So this is a 9-member board?
No, it's a 5-member board. Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
And who determines
Well, the top 5 vote getters will be members of the board. A little history on that, if you'd like a little history. In years past, several years past, the county did nominate a board member, and they would allocate, we would allocate our votes between those that didn't have enough voting power to put somebody on the board. In other words, it takes 1,000 votes to put anybody on the board. And up until the creation of Graham Hospital District, Young County and Graham ISD were the only 3 that had the ability to put a representative on the board. Young County would historically allocate their votes to Newcastle, Olney ISD, and those members that didn't have the capability of including anybody on the board. When the Comptroller of Public Accounts began to penalize school districts for undervaluing the school districts, namely Graham ISD, OISD, and NISD, got together, pooled all of their votes, and they loaded the board with all their candidates. From that time, it's been probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. From that time forward, we've been nominating our representative and casting all of our votes for that representative. That's kind of history of that.
Has ISD and NISD lost representation on the board because of it?
No, I don't believe they did. They still put all their votes. GISD, I think they've lost the ability to put two on there. I think they did that with one. Possibly now, I can't remember what the vote totals are. Calculate that.
When they get on this board, are they designated as a representative of that particular entity?
Well, they're just a nominee from them. Each taxing entity has the capability of nominating a person for each position on the board. There's 8 taxing entities. There probably could be 40 different candidates for them. Because there are just 5 positions, and we have 8, 9. I'm pretty sure that Shannon Plowman, I believe Shannon Plowman has indicated that she wouldn't serve elected members. She was off, she's been on there for a while. So I think that's one that's, there's actually just 7 candidates.
Her nomination came from GISD.
Yeah, the GISD combination, GISD and others. Those that are serving on the board currently are Worth Gregg, I believe Ed Graham, Mark McClellan, Spencer Street, Shannon Plowman. Is Joni Street, that's Spencer. Bruce Smith, Larry Robinson, Forrest Meacham. I believe 3 new candidates. Joni Street, 4 new candidates. I move that we allocate our 1,115 votes to Worth Gregg, who was our nominee. Make that motion.
I'll say.
Okay, we've got a motion. Now myself, and second by Mr. Rogers, to allocate our 1,115 votes to Worth Gregg. All in favor? Any opposed? No opposed. Right, over that. Like that, we'll have the official ballot, we'll lay the stamp on it, and then we'll make deliver that to the tax rate district before the 15th. Or by the 15th. Okay, we've got the credits, the issue of the CTERs, item number 11. The intent there, I believe, is to set a date for a public hearing, right? And make that notice published. We discussed that at the last meeting. I think that we all agreed that the 23rd. I think at that meeting, we'll probably need to have at least 1 or more projects or CTERs zones designated and maybe have some other projects associated with it. Discuss, draw comment if we have any input.
Do we need the advisory board at the meeting that we approve the CTERs, right?
I think we'll need to appoint that board at that meeting.
That meeting. I've sent some messages that I've talked to you.
Has anybody talked to him? Board?
I've got somebody in mind that have touched base with.
A lot of people need to go
By the time we have that hearing, we'll need to decide where we want our CTERs and how many.
Well, we'll have to have some suggestions, and I think that we could get some input, from then on, that public hearing on with regard to that advisory board. The advisory board is not,
It's non-binding, non-paid position.
yeah, they can't bind the board to anything, they're just an advisor. The board doesn't have the obligation to adhere to their recommendations, they just do whatever the board wants to do. But that's part of the CTERs, is to appoint that advisory board, have some input, if there is any. I think in your packet, I believe there's a sample notice.
Well, I would move that we set the CTERs public hearing for December 23rd.
About 9:45.
10 would be good.
10 o'clock. Second.
Get with Luke. I'll get some advice on it. He was out last week, I was trying to that's a sick kid.
$577,500 and something dollars. Young County
Actually, it ends up being closer to 700,000
minimum allocation.
by the time we add 20% to get the total, it's 577. $115,000 thereabouts in there.
That come out our.
And then it's only hard to get the 100% of that 577.
All in favor of setting a public hearing at December the 23rd, 2013, 10 a.m. morning. All in favor of that motion? That's a motion by Sykes, Wiley. Anything else we need to discuss in regard to that?
Get that in the paper. I said,
Get that.
get notice in the
Yeah.
paper.
Yeah, we're being pretty good time running with regard to that. It's starting to move pretty rapidly and pretty smoothly.
Also in our packet is this, proposal by the Allison Bass and Associates.
Yeah, that's something I put in there. Yeah, I think that I saw where everybody had that sent to them, and also, I believe I sent it also. That's if the court chooses to, they can engage a consultant to help through that process. This is a proposal by Allison and Bass. I suppose it probably was sent out to every county in the state. Is there any discussion with regard to that proposal? I think they're willing to do that for $55,000 billable after CTERs.
I think that with the package of materials that they've made available to us, that we're capable of doing that. Only thing we may have is questions of them, which as TAC representative, they'll supply us anyway, so I think there's any reason for them to do the paperwork. I think probably can do it out of your office and just fill in the blanks on those forms. Very good. Save the $5,000 put it on our roads.
Yeah, I agree too.
I'm sure this came about because there's several counties that we'd like to lean on Mr. Allison, and he said, okay, if you want to do it, we'll do it for this. So,
Yeah. Well, you know, you'd think that TAC, they would be more.
I think this is probably more hands-on filling out forms and keeping up with forms and making sure they're complete. There's going to be some liability there, whoever decides to do that.
Yeah.
They will be compensated for it. Our avenue to ask questions and get answers is still there, whether we hire them or not, through TAC. So.
Any further discussion with regard to item 11? I'll go move on to item number 12, and that's consider election equipment upgrade. Lawrence Sullivan. Good morning.
Good morning. The two major components of the election equipment, the tally machine and the servo, are both becoming antiquated and are getting a little iffy. The servo. Yeah, well, I mean, there's days where I wonder if the servo's going to start up because the power cord to the actual laptop doesn't function anymore. So I talked with Hart, who is the distributor of all the other equipment that we have, and to upgrade the tally machine to Windows 7, with them coming to do on-site services for a day, would be $4,855, and then to upgrade the servo laptop would be $2,535 for a grand total of $7,390. And I'll let you know what this is. Oh, did you? Okay.
Does this quote say refurbished with Windows 2000?
Yes, servo is still on Windows 2000.
So there's no way Eric can do any of this?
No.
Is it that far behind on operating system?
Yes. And in fact, I was with Hart this week, and I mean, it's really that
That's
far
crazy.
behind. It is very crazy. But in order to upgrade to another system, we have to upgrade the entire election.
How do you get a laptop to speak to? Is there a lot of incompatibilities there? Yes.
They assured me everything that we have would talk to each other.
Okay.
So,
But it's severely limited to what we have.
right, but that's all these two computers
You
do.
need to be doing anyway.
Yeah, tally only tallies the votes at the end of the election night, and servo only sets up the elections to begin with. So that's all those computers are for anyway. So they don't have to be the newest, greatest, latest stuff. I've talked.
The security on this, is it 32-bit? 16 with Windows 2000.
Really, the way that it's set up is it's based on an older system, and the way that they have set up their systems is to only speak with their other stuff. So
That's why they have to come in and do the
Right.
transfers and all that.
Is this a closed system? You mean,
absolutely, and that's why I would wholeheartedly suggest we continue doing business with Hart, simply due to the fact that they carry the liability in the event that there's a security breach.
They've been cleared.
so they're responsible for any firewalls.
Right, and they've been cleared through the state of Texas. They've gone through all their security measures for elections. My computers, I don't know if you guys have noticed, I have like 12 computers in my office. They all have separate functions. And so, and it's for the security of an election. You know, my husband asked me after my first day, he said, how hard is it to pad an election? You have to screw up 5 different machines very, very explicitly to screw up an election.
So it's multiply redundant. So
Right, so that everything is,
there's no way for any outside source to come inside and affect the election.
Like you said, I mean, they would have to physically be sitting at the computer, or at each of 5 computers, and know
Tally's
exactly
not
what
on
to
the
do.
internet. Tally has no internet capabilities, it's not networked, it has its own printer that
So it's
logs
prepared
it.
in a special format by heart to be sent to the election bureau, to the elections people, not off of these directly.
Well, we use these to set them up and then it goes
And then
on.
it goes somewhere.
Or is there not any transfer of data in the early voting process?
As far as what?
Yeah.
Well, from,
To the state?
no, from our two different early voting officers between them.
We were using, is that when we were using the wireless cards
Yes.
and all that the other? Yeah.
So they do talk to each other.
Yes. Those two speak to each other because that's the way Hart has it set up.
But
Now, it,
There's
That
also
connection is
another-
firewall somewhere.
there's another component that I think y'all are maybe talking about, and that's the e-poll book, where when you come in and I scan your driver's license and it pulls up your name and put, instead of the old paper lists of voters, those talk to the main computers through an air card that is secured and whatever else.
They're just primarily to identify
Who is
someone that
voting?
has voted and someone that hasn't voted.
Servo lives in my vault. It comes out a couple of times during an election to set up the elections. Tally is only touched after an election for us to tally the total number of votes, print off the canvas reports that I gave to you the last time I was in here. And then we take that information and put it back on my main computer and send it to the Secretary of State. So it's lots of itty bitty jumbled up steps. But these are very, very specific computers. And like I said, you know, the Windows 2000 scares me because I know as soon as I buy one, they're going to come out with the 7. But that's the way it is. And, you know, I was down there and looking at their new voting equipment, which is beautiful and wonderful, and I would love to have it. But it's not worth upgrading at this point. You know, all of our stuff still works great. And so I think to maintain what we've got, this is probably a good step. I also need to get it done quickly so that they can get everything done before we start having primaries. Because I'd rather have it all set up and not have to come back in the middle of an election and do a data transfer and risk losing information or what have you. So, as far as funding for it, in the Chapter 19 account, which pays for technology upgrades and that sort of thing for elections, there's $3,828.46. And then the balance of that $7,300 we pay out of the voting machines and maintenance budget item. And that would leave me with a total of $6,438.46 in that fund. So
That's cool, we got some.
How much is that going to, that zero out that one?
that would zero out and those Chapter 19 funds I actually have to spend before August 31st of 2014. That's a recurring account that comes up every time we send out voter registration.
That's on like $3,562. Yeah.
Yeah, 3561.54.
How much do we budget for voting machine maintenance?
2,000.
And like I said before the meeting, right now we've only had to send in one machine to get it fixed and or looked at from the last election. There's a couple of other little maintenance things that I think we've already paid for out of another budget. That was $900. So our equipment seems to be in really good shape right now. So I feel comfortable.
Are there other vendors for this?
There are. Hart's kind of the big one, from what I can tell. And, you know, with all the machines we've got, I don't know how much they spent to set it all up, but
And our decision to use them was based on what?
Shirley Choke would have to answer that.
Shirley bought
Shirley bought all the
a lot
e-polls.
of used equipment from another county, and that was a big help on us because it kind of got us in the door,
Right.
in the way for the paper ballots.
You also have 5,000 in that county election services.
That's true.
That's after the implementation of the Help America Vote Act and the court's decision to move to a fully electronic system. We evaluated 4 or 5 different systems. Shirley Choate, clerk at that time, recommended Hart. And of course, initially, that's what the court chose to move forward with electronic equipment and support with Hart.
And the equipment that we currently have would be locked down, and in the event of an emergency, we could get them to unlock it and use it as a backup. So that
Wes, you need something?
I was just going to say the team system, which is the voting system now through the state of Texas, is compatible with HART, and that's probably one of the reasons we went with them also. None of the other systems are compatible with HART, and HART actually helped design the team website. So it's full. You can take the HART data, import it into Teams, and take team data, import it into HART, and you can't do that with other systems. So there's
some value there.
yeah, there's a lot of value there. So.
Is Teams going to move to a different application in a year or two?
We don't know. We're looking for vendors to host. The Secretary of State is not going to be hosting Teams anymore. I think it's just gotten too big for them to handle. It'll be the same format, but someone will be hosting it. A vendor will be hosting it outside of the Secretary of State's office.
they apparently will not answer any questions about that, because I know Linda and Nancy were down in Austin a week or so ago, and they said nobody could say yay or nay or about any vendors that they're even talking to, so there's no way for us to know at this point.
Okay.
Comment. Should we just taking the money out of this voting maintenance, work on another account?
No, because if she has some unexpected that stays with the elections, if she runs out of money in the budget, then she should probably use that later.
On. Okay.
So there'll always be money spent to set up these machines for election. I mean, program and all that. That comes out of maintenance, but can it come out of that $5,000 line?
Well, she could, but that's a good revenue for her to just hold on to in case she runs out of money in her budget. I mean, if she depletes that, she won't have any other emergency money. It's only $5,000.
You know, we shouldn't use that 5,000 before we use it out of maintenance.
I would say no.
Motion by Commissioner Pruitt to approve the elections upgrade as suggested by our elections administrator.
I'll second
Have a motion approved, second by Commissioner Wiley, all in favor of the upgrades of election equipment?
that.
Carried, 0, no opposition. Thank you, Warren. Okay, item number 13. Consider matters concerning former LEC jail.
Yeah,
This one, Commissioner Sykes. Adam?
okay. In our last meeting when we were discussing extending the courtesy of getting that written opinion about the nature of this building, so far as the demolition of it is concerned. The matrix representative was here, but I never heard him say anything about a timeline. Commissioner Wiley, can you give me what kind of a timeline they're talking about, when they might be available, how long it might take?
I didn't discuss with him to see when they could get onto it. I don't think it would be that big a deal. Whenever he talked before, they had 2 other people in front. I don't know about now, as far as how many they have right now.
That was the only thing I wanted to find out about, was what the timeline might be and what the disposal demolition time would be.
When we talked about getting rid of it, once you get on it, he said maximum it takes 7 days, maximum. Unless you run into something, it'd probably be a lot less than 7.
Is it your understanding that that is including dressing out that lot once they remove the building?
They'll have that block dressed up, smoothed up, the slabs be gone, everything. It'd be ready, there's probably gonna be some fill dirt they put into it after it gets done, but that's something we can do whenever we get to the end of it.
That was the only questions I had.
They need to be wrote into the contract to say how much they will be doing. They just gonna leave a crater over there, or will they go ahead and fill it in, fill it up?
I doubt they'll build anything to fill dirt, I mean, they'll just get the slab out.
I was just checking the parameters of the whole situation. So.
Smooth it up.
Oh, and by the way, since it's kind of sort of attached to it, the jury wheel is out at the precinct barn under lock and key. Good condition.
Well, that's just an item that I remember it being stored there, and I thought that would be, that was kind of unique, and it,
Yeah, it certainly is a throwback to the old days, isn't it?
yeah, it may be a item that might be displayed in the museum.
It is being held in good stead under lock and key at the precinct.
That'd be fine. Okay. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
I didn't even think about it until questions came up from some other colleagues regarding the picking juries and how that process went.
Right.
I just had to think about that. Thought it'd be a good item. Hang on to it.
It's in good shape with that.
Any other discussion or consideration with regard to item number 13? No action.
Just information. Thanks.
Item number 14, consider firework restrictions. That has to be done for the Christmas holidays by December the 15th. If we restrict, and we can't necessarily eliminate sales, but we can restrict the use or sales of rockets with sticks and missiles with fins, I believe, is how that.
Gentlemen, I don't see any reason to restrict those this year. We have in the past.
We
And I think it's time we gave those churches and Boy Scouts and whatever it is that mans those booths a little bit of a break on this. We've stepped over burn ban all year long, so why don't you hand that over to the Lord, hope nothing happens, and allow them to sell the full of legal fireworks that they're allowed to sell.
Okay. Good. Recommend no action taken with regard to firework restrictions. That'd be the same thing on burn restrictions items.
That would follow, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let's put burn ban on.
Okay.
Don't sell anything but put a burn ban on.
Any other matter of business might be considered.
Go ahead. Move to adjourn.
Oh. Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
I'll say.
Let him check.
There you
So we have a motion by Commissioner Pruitt, second by Commissioner Forsyth to adjourn. Is there anybody opposed to that motion? Okay, I'll put that down, that carries. There's no opposition.
go. Here's 600.